Let us treat classification of verbs. Now, all verbs can be classified broadly into two types, and these are the lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs. In other words, any verb at all is either a lexical verb or an auxiliary verb. But our interest is on the auxiliary verbs. So let us look at the auxiliary verbs. Now, the auxiliary verbs can further be subdivided into two types, and these are the primary auxiliary verbs and the modal auxiliary verbs. In other words, every auxiliary verb is either a primary auxiliary verb or a modal auxiliary verb. But our interest in this video is on the primary auxiliary verb. The primary auxiliary verbs can further be divided into three types or categories, and these are the primary auxiliary verbs to be, number 2, the primary auxiliary verbs to do, and 3, the primary auxiliary verbs to have. Now, the verbs to have are also known as the anomalous verbs. So now let's list the primary auxiliary verbs that are known as the verbs to be. These are is, am, are, was, were, be, been, being. So these 8 verbs are known as the verbs to be or the to be verbs. We are coming back to this. Now let's look at the primary auxiliary verbs to do. The examples are do, does, did, also doing, and then done. These are known as the primary auxiliary verbs to do or the to do verbs. So we move on to the primary auxiliary verbs to have, also known as the anomalous verbs. The verbs to have are has, have, had, also having. This number 5 should be on hold. We'll come back to it. Now, among the primary auxiliary verbs, these 3 is, am, are present tense primary auxiliary verbs to be, while was and were are past tense verbs to be. Be is the bare infinitive of the primary auxiliary verbs to be. Been is the past participle form of each of the verb to be. Okay? While being is the present participle form of each of the primary auxiliary verbs to be. So we move on to the verbs to do. Do and does are present tense verbs to do. Do is plural, does is singular. Now, did is the past tense of the verbs to be, that is, past tense of do and does, while doing is the present participle form of the verbs to do. Okay? Done is the past participle form of the verbs to do. Next, we talk about the verbs to have, also known as the anomalous. Has and have are present tense verbs to have. Has is singular and have is plural. Now, had is the past tense of both has and have. Then having is the present participle of the verbs to have. Now, the past participle form of the verbs to have is the same had. So had functions in two capacities: the past tense of the verbs to have and as the past participle. Now, I'm only going to rewrite the had a second time, otherwise I could just leave this one to stand in for the 2. But let us write it a second time so that we know that had function in two capacities. Alright, every English student should know and be able to list all the primary auxiliary verbs as stated here. Thank you for watching.